Joining the show today is Coach Tommy Tryon, head coach at Washington County High School. Coach Tryon's actually been a longtime friend of mine since high school. Our schools competed against each other. We didn't necessarily compete against each other specifically, but we've known each other for a long time. Actually, he was the first coach I had on for an interview podcast. He was my first guest. And today he's just going to talk about his Feed the Cats approach to track and field and football and what he calls Feed the Tigers. So, Coach, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. So, Feed the Tigers, which is a sprint and power-based program that I've done. Now this will be my second year that I've really dove in and done it during the summer, done it during the school year, and incorporated it also into track, which worked out seamlessly. So, here is my Feed the Tigers. Feed the Tigers is actually just Feed the Cats. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that, but when I got hired as the head track coach back in November of last year, I didn't really know a whole lot about track and field other than I was a thrower. So I knew some things about throws, but I have a growth mindset and I wanted to learn a lot. I came across Tony Holler and Feed the Cats on Twitter, I believe, and I kind of fell in love with the idea of it. So, what is Feed the Cats? To me, just kind of keeping things simple. Everything is a sprint and everything is intense. That's kind of my simple explanation of Feed the Cats. You know, getting more scientific about things, you're going to train anaerobically. So you're going to have intense work for a short duration. You're going to have adequate rest, recovery, and then you're going to repeat it again. So it's not really like you're going out there and running gassers or anything like that. It's basically the opposite. So there's no conditioning per se, but everything you do is intense. Everything is a sprint. So in a way, everything is conditioning. Kind of like if you are out on the football field, every play should be 100%, everything you got. If you're not training that way, you're probably not going to perform that way on Friday nights. You want to make the work feel more like play or competition. Football is a game, just like track is also a game. It's supposed to be enjoyed. It's supposed to be fun. If there is no fun, if there is no joy, you're not going to like what you do, and you're probably not going to be successful at it either. So again, everything is just based upon the ideas of Tony Holler, Chris Corfus, and actually Nebraska football back in the 80s and 90s. And when I saw Tony Holler, it would have been South Sioux City. He had a presentation there, and he actually showed a bit of this old Nebraska strength and conditioning for power video from YouTube. And it kind of is the baseline and the basis of everything that he does for Feed the Cats. So I'll play this for a little bit here.
It's almost exclusively ATP-PC energy system. Step 2 is to implement a conditioning program to develop the ATP-PC energy system. Your conditioning program should be based on interval training principles. Interval training is work or exercise followed by a prescribed rest interval. The program must meet the following conditions to be specific for football. It must include work intervals that are intense with a duration of 3 to 8 seconds and rest periods lasting at least 30 seconds. The best way to organize the conditioning program is to set up 4 stations, each station having its own specific drills. If you have a small group of athletes, the coach and the athletes can rotate from one station to the next. If you have a large number of athletes and enough coaches, you may want to divide the athletes into groups of 10 to 20. Each group can be assigned to a station, supervised by its own coach. Players can be divided according to their position, speed, or body weight. The first few weeks of the conditioning program, the stations should last only 3 minutes and gradually progress to 5 minutes as the players get into better football shape. To ensure that the players are using the ATP-PC energy system, allow the players a 2-minute rest period between stations to completely recover and to get a drink of water if necessary. The drills should be short and intense, simulating football actions. To increase the intensity of the drill, You will want at least 2 players performing the drill at the same time to compete with each other. As 2 of the players are running, the others are resting. During this time, it helps if the players resting are giving encouragement to the players racing. As 2 players finish, the next 2 should be ready to go. Another method of increasing intensity is to have the coach time each athlete doing the drill. This works best with smaller groups, while racing works best with larger groups. The rest period should be automatically built into the drills. As 1 or 2 athletes are exercising, the rest of the group should be resting. A common training error that coaches make in their conditioning programs is making the rest intervals too short. If the rest period is too short, the amount of ATP replenished is not sufficient to meet the demands of the next maximum intensity effort, and force output will be reduced. This problem is so common that we need to repeat this point. If the rest interval is too short, the force will be reduced, and you train endurance, not power. Drills can be done 4 times a week, with the speed and power drills on Monday and Thursday, and the agility drills on Tuesday and Friday. Keep Wednesday as a day of rest, and always do the speed, power, and agility drills before the strength program. Do warm-up drills prior to any speed or agility workout.
That video does a good idea of actually showing kind of visually how you should be going about your training. And again, that rest is very, very, very important. You don't want to be going into training and not being able to perform at your maximum capability. As long as you can have your maximum speed, your power, your explosiveness get better, come game time, you're going to have that rest too, because typically football, especially, is going to be about 4 to 6 seconds going from A to B, and then you're going to have, 40 seconds of rest in between, typically. So you want to train in the same way that you compete. So, even that old school Nebraska football video is talking a lot about the same things that try to incorporate with Feed the Cats.
Have you studied that Nebraska footage? Do you use any of those drills?
Yeah, I have used some of those drills. I mean, typically, I haven't done any of like the shuttle sprints that they do there, but I do a lot of box jumps. I feel like box jumps are really good, especially when you're trying to get the knees up to your chest. You're trying to be explosive rather than just jumping up. You have to have intent and purpose in everything you're doing. And I think if you do have a couple bags lined up and you're trying to jump over them, or you're jumping over hurdles, that's going to help out your jumping and your vertical more than just jumping just to jump without, a purpose.
Now, I definitely have some competitive speed sprints with like 2 guys at a time, like they were showing. I have some of that stuff set up and on my schedule for summer weights when we start here in a couple weeks. But I know one of the biggest things that Tony Holler always says is don't let weight training or strength training mess with speed. Always sprint first. And
Right.
but the only problem with that for me is that we're trying to go boys and girls at the same time. So one group will be in the weight room, kind of like how I did it in high school. We did in high school because we're crunched for time, and high school kids have summer jobs, and I'm trying to get them all in here. But so we'll go one group they'll all warm up together, then they'll break off, and one group will go in the weight room. One will be in the gym doing the speed jump work, and then they'll rotate. So one group is always going to have. Now I'm going to try to make it more of we only do our full speed sprint workouts like that on days that we do low intensity or upper body work in the weight room, But I'm wondering if, I don't know, you got any ideas or tips for me how to get past that problem?
Well, I'm kind of like you. I'm in the same situation. When we have summer weights, all these kids, they have jobs. They play softball, they play baseball, volleyball, all this stuff. They're super busy. So I do 2 sessions in the morning, one at 6 o'clock and then one at 6:45. And, just like you were saying, I want to be out on the track, or, if weather's bad, we're going to be inside and we're going to be doing the same kind of igniter warm-ups, and then speed or plyometric training prior to us lifting. And I'll get into that a little bit later, but basically what you're trying to do there is to get that CNS fired up. And I'm very fortunate here at Washington County. I came in here, like I said, I got hired as the track coach last year, and I asked if I could get a free lap system. So I use that free lap system all the time, doing flying 10s, flying 20s, 40-yard dashes as well, just because I want the kids to be competing at everything that they do. And they could, race against somebody, but I'm always going to try to time everything I can. I'm going to write down the times, and the kids, they do want to see, what they got for their times. They're going to give it their all. I didn't always see that before. I'm not sure if, adding that competitive aspect into it, or if it maybe gave a little bit more purpose as to why I should try a little bit harder. So, I mean, we're kind of in the same boat. I do have guys and girls both going at the same time, just because I want as many kids there as possible, and I don't want to limit a guy or a girl and say you can only do this session or that session.
Yeah, and you said the track, and you do fly 10s, 20s, and 40s. Our track's not even finished yet. It was supposed to get fully redone. They started in the fall, and it's still not done. I'm hoping somewhere in the summer it'll be done, and then we'll have a brand new, fresh rubber surface to run on. But yeah, so we're stuck to the gym right now, or the wet grass in the morning, and I prefer a gym over wet grass myself. But we just don't have a great place to go run further than, a 10 or 20-yard fly if we
Right.
fit it in the gym. But then going back to what you're saying there too about rank, record, publish, and you didn't actually say that, but yeah, I
Right.
obviously that's something I still stole from Feed the Cats as you did, I'm sure. But yeah, we record everything too. And we don't have free lap, but I got a cheaper, basically the same thing, but it's arena gear, and it's just that laser sensor timing system, and
Mhm.
we can get a lot in really fast, and it gets their times immediately, and I put it into the Google Sheet and transfer it to miles per hour so they can see their speeds. But yeah, they want to see it, and not only are they competing with their classmates with for their time, they're also competing with themselves. I want to get that faster time, and
Right.
all that. But we don't just do it with speed either. We do it with our broad jump, horizontal jump and vertical jumps, testing verticals, and
Yeah.
then also
Throwing medicine balls, that's another one that you could do too. Done that a little bit.
yeah. Tell me more about the medicine ball.
Medicine ball tosses, you can get very creative with it, as far as if you want to make it into X Factor kind of type workout, where you might do medicine ball and you do a broad jump, land, and then throw it forward, or if you want to do a backwards medicine ball toss for distance, or if you wanted to throw for height. I've seen that. I want to incorporate a lot more medicine ball things, just because I think it does work well for the whole body. You have to have a good core to throw the medicine ball well. You have to be explosive. Let's say you're going to do it from a football, it would be like a 6 point stance, but you'd have your hands up off the ground. And then you push off with your toes, and your hips are going to fire out through that throw. So there's a lot of different things I'd want to do as far as medicine ball goes. I've seen a lot on Twitter. I think that's where I get a lot of drills and ideas, just going through Twitter or Instagram, that kind of stuff, and seeing which ones might be the most beneficial for my kids as far as what my goal is to get them better at.
And I like the medicine ball. I actually, when you said that, I had seen a Feed the Cats video of a person throwing a medicine ball for height
Hmm.
in the gym inside, and I thought about that and the way they talked about it. But yeah, we've never done that, so that might be something I steal from this.
Yeah.
Just you throwing out ideas here, but
So I guess the next thing we'll get into here is why feed the cats. And personally, I had my own experience as a high school football player and athlete. Um, my least favorite part of playing any sport would have to be the conditioning. You just went through an hour and a half of practice out in the sun with your pads on and everything like that, and you're going hard. Well, typically you would be going hard. And then to practice when coach tells you, all right, we got all these gassers to do or all this conditioning, and you just dread that because you know that every day at the end of practice you've got this conditioning. So I think one of two things. One, most of the time, a young kid is going to maybe try to conserve some energy for that conditioning at the end. Or two, they're just going to be so dead from everything that they did before at practice that that conditioning is going to be the toughest thing that they do. They might struggle to get through it. Personally, I was a lineman, so I was only about 5'9" my senior year, and I weighed probably like 235 pounds. And I had power, I was explosive, but I didn't have the greatest conditioning. Um, so I would think to myself, how are running these gassers going to make me a better lineman? Just kind of being negative in my own head about dreading the fact that I got to do all this conditioning and why. Why do I need to do it? Um, so that would lead to sandbagging or dogging it, not doing my absolute best because I would be having that negative thought in my head is like, why am I doing this? But my junior and senior year, I kind of, we got a different coach in. He was an assistant coach, and he kind of changed my thinking there. He said, we're not going to do as much conditioning at the end. He told me you need to focus on when we do drills, when you go out and you pull and you lead and all this other stuff. Everything has got to be fire out from the line. Everything has got to be a sprint. And he said, if you need a break, you let me know and you can get a break. So that kind of changed my whole mindset. And I think that, clicked with me when I learned more about Feed the Cats. I had a better understanding of what would make me want to do those things better. Now, I still struggled when we did conditioning and everything. Everybody did. But when we did our drills at practice or when we ran plays against scout team defense or even against air, like I was sprinting like it was Friday night. So just kind of thinking about that and then learning about Feed the Cats, I was like, you know what? I think I would have loved that as a high school kid. When I finally did become a head football coach, I did not inherit much speed at all. We were probably the slowest team in the entire Twin Valley League. So when I saw Feed the Cats for track and they talked about football and everything else, I was like, this could be really beneficial for my guys. Yeah, some people are born with speed naturally, but there is a misconception about speed itself. You can build it. You can drill it every day. You can do little things to get faster. You may not be a world-class sprinter. You guys may not win like the 100-meter dash if they're just naturally slow, but they will get better as long as you do the mechanics right, as long as you train them properly. Like their times will get better. And that's beneficial for football because you need to be quick, you need to be fast, and you need to be explosive. And that's all that Feed the Cats really focuses on. So, yeah, I talked a little bit earlier about how I saw Tony Holler and Feed the Cats clinic. One thing that really stuck out in my mind was talking about grueling high volume workouts and how wrong they are and have always been. Speed is a skill that must be practiced fast and low dosage with lots of rest. And he said, now I tell people sprint as fast as you can, as often as you can, while staying as fresh as you can. And he's 100% certain of this. And I think that has totally worked for my teams as far as building speed, as far as football and also track as well. I don't have any burners for boys or anything like that, but I have some really talented girls, and we do Feed the Cats all of track season and then summer weights and everything. And I think it has really caught on. The athletes, they see the success that came from it. So they're totally bought in. At first, when we were kind of doing all this goofy stuff and focusing on our hands and driving our knees and stuff like that, they weren't too sure of it because they were unfamiliar. So naturally, you're going to kind of go against it, but they bought in 100% and they're being successful. And, it's always good to see that, getting that buy-in.
Going back
Okay.
to what you were saying as a high school player and asking why, I even had that with middle school athletes this year would ask, "Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this?" And and the old school answer would have been, "Well, it's going to get you better," But
Mhm.
in a kid's mind, that doesn't answer anything. And so, like in your situation, and even in mine, I know for a fact, if I was thinking, "Why am I doing this? How is this making me better?" and they say, "Well, it's getting you better," then I would have said, "This is dumb. I don't like it." I wouldn't have tried
Yeah.
either. Or at least you're
Or
not gonna try as
how is it
hard.
getting me better? You
Yeah.
know?
And at least you're not gonna try as hard as you could. You might still be trying, but again, that long distance type stuff, first of all, it only hurts your sprint mechanics because you're being lazy and you're not trying anyway, but also, yeah, it's not making you any faster because you're not sprinting.
And, further, like I said, that was the one thing I dreaded about football. I love the game. Practices were fun and everything, but the conditioning, ugh, I could go without that. So
Mhm.
if there's a way that I can get rid of that thing that, probably everybody dreads and we can disguise it into everything else that we do, I'm gonna get away with it. I don't think it's being efficient. I think being efficient with your time and the way that you work would be to incorporate, sprint-based football and doing all this stuff in practice without them even knowing that they are doing some sort of conditioning, you
Yeah,
know?
100%. And our coach was one of the coaches that he would put his practice plan every day before practice. He would put it up in the locker room. And so throughout the day, you could go look in there and see what are we doing at practice today? And it was always the first thing all of us were looking at. What do we got for conditioning today? What do we got? And it was always like, oh God, like I don't want to do that. Yeah, it was the thing everybody dreaded the most was what do we got? And then finally in the playoffs, our coach would put all the conditioning would be built into the drills, and the reasoning was to keep us fresh. Like,
Right.
why didn't we do that all year long? But that was that old school football coaching mindset.
Build that toughness, and then when you get into the playoffs, you're tough enough, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kinda like how you're talking about, a lot of kids are gonna ask why you're doing this, and, even as athletes, you know, 11 years ago, when we were in high school and going through all of the two-days and stuff, you gotta think about why are we doing this? So I put the slide here, and I really think the most important thing to having a good culture and being able to really have a great feed the cat system is that you have to build trust, respect, and understanding within your program. Um, Going into that why, the question of why, from a young person is going to carry a negative connotation a lot of times. Um, especially if it's towards a coach or a teacher or anything like that. Um, they'll ask you, why are we doing this? And, the worst answer that you can give a kid is because I said so, or because that's the way we've always done it. Um, I think that why reveals more intellect and a greater understanding to the process. Um, the kids that are asking why, they generally want to understand, why we are doing this. How is this going to make me better? So I think as long as you are coaching, you're teaching anything like that, if you have a program in place and you have a plan and you have a process, it's important to understand every little thing that you do so that when a kid does ask you why, you can give them an answer. That's going to create buy-in because it's going to show that you do understand what you're talking about. You're not just giving a filler answer that won't get them anywhere as far as understanding what we're doing. So if you understand the why to everything that you do, every drill that you're having them do, or every team building activity, anything like that, if you understand the why and you can reciprocate that to your kids, that is going to build a way better relationship than just being an authoritarian. And I don't think being authoritarian as a coach today is going to get you very far. Um, Kids are very, very smart. They do want to understand the things that you're doing. So don't take it as a negative if a kid's saying, why are we doing this? Take it as a positive because they do want that ownership. They do want to buy into what you're doing. They just require a little more extra understanding. So an important thing in the process is giving the athletes ownership. Kids, they do want to understand what's going on, and they do want to be a part of kind of the decision making process, even if they aren't necessarily a part of it, but they want to feel like they are a part of it. Um, Teenagers are not the smartest, their brains are still developing, but they can be a lot smarter than what they're given credit for. And I'm only about 12 years older than most of the kids that I deal with every day at school and at practice and everything like that. So I still can relate to them. And I can think back to when I was in high school. Yeah, I did some things that maybe weren't the brightest, but I always had that hunger for knowledge and understanding. And I think a lot of kids today also do. So you need to foster that learning, keep them curious, keep them, wanting to understand why you're doing things. Um, do you feel good about this task? What do we think that we can do here to improve? Do you feel comfortable moving on to the next step or drill? Those are questions that I might ask the kids, whether we're doing drills, lifting weights, anything like that. I want to ask them, are you absolutely sure that you're okay with us moving on to the next thing? Because a lot of times, kids, they're not going to speak up. They're not going to say, "Hey, I don't understand this." But if you give them that question and you ask them, they might feel more comfortable in saying, "Hey, coach, I don't quite understand this. Can we go over it again?" And really, you want to have your kids be masters of the little things. And if they can't understand the little things, then you can't move on to anything more complex. And I think that goes back to, we've talked about it before, but I think when you were presenting about quarterbacks or something, you'd ask your quarterback, all right, are you comfortable moving on to the next drill? Do we need to go over something again? So we kind of think alike in that same aspect. Um, and then the last thing I got here, competence is going to equal that confidence. If you understand what you're doing, you're gonna be confident in what you're doing when you're asked to perform. And then that confidence is going to lead to positive results because you're not going to have negative thoughts and you're not going to think, I'm not prepared for this. If you're confident in everything that you did prior to game time, you should have a good understanding that I can go out there and perform.
Yeah, and then this all goes back into the feed the cats again because like them questions there, do you feel good? What do you think we can do here to improve? I would always so like I told you earlier, this is my first year coaching hurdlers in track. So I would record every time we would run a 2 hurdle start and even other just minor drills, I'd record it and say, here, take a look. And I stole that from Tony Holler also too, but he was like, show them the video and then let them critique themselves. Don't say anything. See what they say. Let them point out what do I need to work on. And I did that all the time on our 2 hurdle starts, and they'd be like, oh, my arms aren't good, or like, I'm getting too high, or my start was bad, anything based off of the
Mm-hmm.
recording. And so that's another great thing about Feed the Cats is going into those same questions right there.
Yeah. And video is such a great tool that you can use. So, building that trust, that relationship, and that respect with the athletes in your program, it kind of goes back to this book that I'm currently reading right now, almost finished with. It's called Conscious Coaching: The Art and Science of Building Buy-in. Um, Basically, it talks about how coaching or building a relationship or trust or anything like that, it's not a one size fit all, especially when it comes to athletes. Athletes are very different. You're going to have the ones that are naturally gifted, that maybe think higher of themselves than what they should. You're going to have the ones that are grinders, maybe not the most physically gifted or anything like that, but they're always going to give you their best. Um, and it just kind of talks about how you can build relationships with the different types of people that you're going to encounter. And this would also work if you're like a business person or anything like that, any sort of leadership position. But one quote that I did highlight from the book actually came from Coach Mike Sherman. And he said, demand the truth, tell the truth, live the truth. And he said, if there is no truth, there is no trust. And if there is no trust, there is no relationship. And if there is no relationship, there is no value or substance to what you're doing. So I always just try to keep it real with all of my athletes, anybody that I encounter. I'm going to be honest with them, good and bad. Kind of like I was talking to you before. Some people are just very negative on themselves, so you don't want to really pile that on, but you want to give them that constructive criticism. So I might start out by telling them something that they did really well if we're watching film, or if I'm just coaching them up. And then I might say right after that, the thing that maybe is most important that we work on. And then I'll go back to giving them another compliment or saying, you're almost there. You're just right there. We just got to fix that one little thing, and you're going to be a stud after we fix it. So I'll move on to the next slide here. This is talking a little bit about how I feed the tigers or feed the cats. And I think I've talked a little bit about this before in a previous slide, but you have to believe in moving fast, whether that's weights or just sprints or jumping, lifting for power, being explosive, and then resting in between so that you can do all those things to your maximum capability. So let's say you're in the weight room, I'm going to try to get you to do 5 reps. And I want you to do those 5 reps, let's say at 60% on a squat or something like that. So you're not maxing out by any means, but I want 6 excellent reps, and I want you to get down all the way. And I want you to move that weight fast, because moving fast is way more important in the weight room than being slow and grinding out a squat or anything like that. So, and as we talked about before, in my summer weights program, I'm going to have the kids start out on the track or in the gym. We're going to do our igniters, which is like our warm up series, just to get everything moving. You need to get your central nervous system firing before lifting so that you can move fast and you can do everything properly, because speed is neurological. If your brain is functioning at the capacity that it needs to, you're going to sprint better. You're going to move that weight faster. You're going to jump higher. Yeah, like I was saying, we do igniters, which is kind of like a warm-up series, I suppose, and we'll do sprints or flies or X factor plyometrics, which X factor just means, you're going to do a ton of different things that you can choose from, but you're only going to pick like 4 or 5 things to focus on. Generally, I try to focus more on like jumping or something that is going to focus on sprint mechanics or driving the knee up, so you're jumping higher or just being more explosive. I also have looked more into the deceleration things as well, because every sport you've got to accelerate and then see how you can decelerate and then accelerate again. So I'm just kind of looking for more drills like that. In the weight room, I focus on low volume but high intensity training. So our main lift, I want to have less than 30 total reps generally. So you can do that in a number of different ways, whether you want to do 3 sets of 10, if you're trying to do more endurance work, or, I think today we did squats and I didn't do it real heavy with the kids, but we did 6 sets of 4. And we built and we increased our percentage every time. But our intent was to move that weight fast and get good range of motion. We don't really care so much about having heavy weights, because the weight will come as long as you do the little things right. And then doing core, feed the cats. They don't really say that you need to do core every day or anything like that. And I kind of feel the same way. As long as you are lifting properly, especially in the squat or deadlifts or anything like that, if you're sprinting correctly with your chest up, you have good posture, all of that kind of stuff, you are getting a core workout, whether you realize it or not. But I still like to supplement some sort of core workout every now and then. And then my last thing here, speed training plus weight training is going to equal that apex predator, and that's what they talk about a lot in Feed the Cats football. You want to build the king of the jungle. You want someone who's fast, but also has enough power, strength, and explosiveness that they can run through people as well on the football field. Um, Khalil Mack is a good example of an apex predator. He ran like a 4.5 40 and he weighs 250 pounds. And he can do anything athletically, and he's big and strong and he's fast. And he probably does some training like this. Christian McCaffrey is definitely an apex predator. He's one of the fastest guys in the NFL. He takes care of his body. He trains smart. But he has a lot of power and explosiveness. And it kind of goes back to he trains like a cat.
I like the apex predator comparison of Feed the Cats and like why Tony Holler called that because he has observed cats. And one thing I even recently watched, this probably been a couple months ago actually, but was how he talked about the difference even in jump training and how when he was in school, his it was all about flexibility. How loose can you be? And then how he's the opposite now of he wants stiffness. Like, and he gave the example of when he was a kid, he was up on top of a hayloft in a barn, and they had a cat on the farm, and he kicked the cat down, and it lands, 2 stories down, or it lands perfectly on its 4 legs, takes off running. It lands stiff, it takes off running. It's like, well, that's what we want. We want that stiffness. So when we're doing jump training, we even work on absorbing force and hitting ground and all that, and jumping off, and not just jumping, but
And that kind of goes back to like your explosive work movements as well. If you can jump onto a box, drop off the box, land, absorb that force, and then go right back into a vertical or horizontal jump, like that just shows your athleticism. And you could be a great athlete and not know how to land properly, and then be able to go into another jump or be able to make a cut or anything like that. So, yeah, I agree. Absorbing that force, that's something that can be taught and is going to be something that makes you a better athlete too. So, uh, another thing just in the weight room, don't try to get too complex in what you do. Keep things simple. If you want to get stronger, if you want to get faster, if you want to jump higher or jump farther, then train at those things. Don't try to do all this other things uh, that you just see on Twitter, but you don't understand why you're doing it. I see a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, that might be cool. But if I don't understand why they're doing it, I'm not going to try to do it either because I couldn't explain it to the kids.
yeah, exactly. That same thing with football. Like you see the Dan Casey every time, and you see all these cool schemes and all, but it's like if I can't fit that into my system of how I would be able to teach it to my players, as well as if I don't know why we would do it or what, how to teach it, then yeah, exactly. So with anything you do, yeah, keep it simple and don't overdo it. Plus, like you've been saying all along, if you do the little things right, you don't have to do a lot. You don't have to be overly complicated if you do them little things right with each thing you do.
Exactly. Like Centralia football, they run that spinner back and they were good at it forever. Did they get too crazy with it? Not really, but they had a lot of success because they knew what they were doing.
Yep, exactly. You keep your offense simple or defense for that matter, anything. Yeah,
Yeah,
your kids will understand it and they'll excel because just kind of like all the stuff you're talking about here. But
yeah.
here, I'll
That
let you go.
simplicity is going to be mastery. Mastery is going to be good for the kids. They're going to be confident and get the results they want. All right, I'll go into my last slide here. So, just talk a little bit about X Factor drills, which I kind of referred to a little bit ago. Main focus with X Factor drills is going to be focusing on your sprint form and your mechanics and everything that you do. Making sure you have a good spring able or ankle to where you can generate and absorb that force, kind of like we were also talking about with those cat jumps and cat landings and stuff like that. And these are things that can be done by anyone, no matter what level, you know. Maybe don't get it to be too complex, but really, this is a lot of jumping, sprinting, that kind of stuff that literally I think elementary kids could do, and it would make them faster and it would make them more athletic. Um, so yeah, these drills just build better athletes, period. And I'll play this for a little bit here.
Fast guys do this. They know how to do these things better. And I'm here to tell you, slow guys be good at these exercises. They do get fast. So let's start with jumps and bounds. Because jumping and bounding are it's like going to sprint. Bounce. Love it. Again, all five of these guys are all staters. Like really elite quality high school athletes. Marcellus is in the white T-shirt there, and of course, he state record in Illinois. And this past year at Purdue, Marcellus ran 10.12, and he was only 18. 18-year-old kid running 10.12. That's number 2 in the world for under 20. Fast people do box jumps well.
I think I'll just pause it right there. But if anybody ever wants to look up that video, all you'd have to do is type in X Factor speed drills and workouts, Tony Holler on YouTube. He's got great examples of different athletes doing all of these different drills and everything like that, that you could show your athletes. So they have a good example of how to do things properly. And everything he says really does make sense. If you are a good athlete, you are going to be able to box jump pretty high. You're going to be able to do a single leg box jump and all this other stuff. So these are things that anybody can do to get a little bit better athletically. It's going to have more speed, and you're going to be able to jump higher and jump farther as long as you do these things. And you continue to do them throughout the year, and not just in the summer. But it needs to be something that's done just about every day.
Yeah, I've watched that, but I need to go back and rewatch these videos too.
Yeah, and there's a ton of resources. You could Google Feed the Cats X Factor, and you could find videos. You can find Word documents that coaches have put together that have, what they do during the entire year as far as X Factor drills and stuff like that. And, I try to stick to the main things as far as like doing box jumps or bounds and stuff like that. But every now and then I'll throw in something different just so the kids don't get kind of bored with what you're doing. But I do think it's important that you keep the main thing, the focus, when you are doing these drills. If you want to jump higher, do some jumps. If you want to be more explosive out of the blocks, maybe you need to try to do some different X factors that are going to work on the push or drive phase or anything like that. So it's all good stuff, and it's not particularly hard on the body, so you can do them every day. So here is my last slide here. And again, this is kind of like a conclusion of everything, but you really need to believe in what you're doing. If you don't believe in Feed the Cats, then don't do it. I believe in 100% everything that we're doing. I think the kids are starting to see the success behind it, so they believe in it too. But if you have an ounce of, I don't quite agree with what we're doing, then it may not work out. You've got to trust and believe in everything that you're doing. When I took over the head track coaching spot last year, I started doing this, and people, were second guessing what I was doing, saying I wasn't doing things right. But as time went on and we progressed throughout the track season, the low dosage sprints that we did, the rest that they had only made them better for the meets that really count, which are regionals and state. And this year, my girls' team right there, they won the regional championship for the first time in 10 years. And all of that, I believe, had to do with feeding the cats and getting better at our mechanics and doing speed and power workouts, because I got all kinds of different girls in there. I got girls that are jumpers, pole vaulters, 800-meter runner, hurdler, javelin thrower, sprinter, you name it. And they basically all do the same workouts. And that's not me trying to be lazy or anything, but I just believe in what we're doing. That girl that's running the 800, I'll give her a little aerobic workout every now and then, but for the most part, we're all doing the same thing. Um, and my last kind of closing thoughts are, you need to be the model for your team. If you want something done a certain way, you have got to reflect it yourself. You have to be that example that you want to see from your kids and be there first. So if weights are going to start at 6 o'clock, you better get there about 5:45. Have everything prepared, have everything ready. Otherwise, you just look like you don't know what you're doing. Focus on the low volume, but keep it intense. And that's in everything you do: weight room, track, football practice, everything. Low volume, but keep it intense, and rest. Listen to your athletes and establish a working relationship. You know, track and football, they are games. They are supposed to be fun. Have fun with those kids. Don't make it all, everything doesn't have to be serious. Now, there's a time and a place where you need to be serious, but if you have a good relationship with the kids, they're going to understand when it's go time and when maybe they can have some fun. And then keep things fun and competitive, and the results will follow. Kids are going to buy in when they're having fun. They're going to buy in when you're doing things that are competitive. They're going to try a little bit harder at those sprints and everything if you're there documenting it. And they do want to see how much better they've gotten throughout the year. Or, you know, it may be bad sometimes to compare yourselves to others, but if you can say, oh, I ran that 10-meter fly a little faster than you this time, and we got two more left. Let's see if you can run it faster than me. That's good, friendly competition. So I totally love Feed the Cats. I believe in it 100%. Here in the future, I'm going to have more boys out for football in the high school. I've got, I think, 22 total this next year that are interested. 14 of them are freshmen. I've coached them in junior high basketball, been around them a lot for track as well. And, they're a competitive group. So I think it's gonna be fun feeding those cats for the next 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got me thinking we the same way. We had well, I was telling you earlier, I kind of got sucked into coaching middle school track, and we had 9 8th grade boys, and they're all going to come out for football this year, and we actually lost 6 seniors, so we're going up 3 there. Also, we have a couple other kids in the school, boys, that are going to come out for football also, because well, first off, they've seen the success from last year and want to be a part of it now, and so that goes right into this too. Again, keep things fun, competitive. The results will follow, and also it'll invite other kids in. They'll see how much fun and they'll hear all the great things going on within your program and want to be a part of it also. So
Yeah, and that's what I want. I want everyone to feel like they can be a part of my team, whether it's basketball or whether it's football or basketball if I were doing basketball, but track. You know, I don't want them to think, well, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. No, everybody can do it. Everybody can be a part of this team. Now, everybody's going to have different roles, but your role will be important to the team as a whole. So, yeah, I think that also plays into Feed the Cats as well.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, Coach, thanks a lot for doing this. I'm glad you were able to put something together and speak on this. It definitely is a great learning experience for me, but also for all the other coaches out there that are kind of new to the Feed the Cats and can see an actual football side of things with the track side too. But yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on and doing this.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I think this is it's a good deal as far as like sharing what I've learned and just having that growth mindset every day is what it's about. Trying to get a little bit better as a coach, as a leader, and then passing that on to the kids. So appreciate what you do.
Yep. Yeah, thank you, Coach. If you have any questions for me, feel free to leave your questions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video or took away anything from it, please click subscribe. Check out some of my previous videos right here in the middle of the screen. And like always, thanks for watching.